And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
I wouldn't demand to be mandatory, but I would do everything in my power, just like I don't think masks have to be made mandatory nationwide.
Can we mandate vaccines across the country? No, that's not a role that the federal government, I think, even has the power to make.
We cannot require someone to be vaccinated. That's just not what we can do. It is a matter of privacy to know who is or who isn't.
No, definitely not. You don't want to mandate and try and force anyone to take a vaccine. We've never done that. We don't want to be mandating from the federal government to the general population. It would be unenforceable and not appropriate.
I prayed a lot to God during this time. And you know what? God did answer our prayers. He made the smartest men and women, the scientists, the doctors, the researchers. He made them come up with a vaccine. That is from God to us. And we must say, thank you, God. Thank you. And I wear my vaccinated necklace all the time to say, I'm vaccinated. All of you. Yes, I know you're vaccinated. You're the smart ones. But you know there's people out there who aren't listening to God and what God wants. You know this. You know who they are. I need you to be my apostles. I need you to go out and talk about it and say, we owe this to each other. We love each other. Jesus taught us to love one another. And how do you show that love? But to care about each other enough to say, please get vaccinated because I love you. I want you to live.
Want to say peace and blessings, family. Not going to be before you too long tonight, but just want to share with you. I know this is not a scheduled live session that I would normally do, but I just want to touch on something real quick about Kyrie Irvine. And we've seen the media, we've seen the playbook that's taking place right now. And this playbook that we see happening right now among the NBA players, which is a major disappointment among the media, but primarily the NBA, Stephen A. Smith, uh, Kendrick Perkins, Keyshawn Johnson, what's the other guy named Jason Williams, and another number of others. Steve Kerr. I mean, not Steve Kerr, but actually, what's his name? Steve Nash, the New Jersey Nets, and, just a number of things that's happening. The NBA. We could go right down a list. But I want to really touch on Kyrie Irving because Stephen A. Smith, he's a complete joke. I'm just going to call it like it is. I've literally watched him take up or be very sensitive towards the situation with the football coach. I think his name is Urban Myers, who was supposedly staying back after a game to go visit his grandkids, and he ended up in a strip bar or whatever it was, getting a lap dance. But Stephen A. Smith was very sensitive. His tone was completely different when it came to dealing with the behaviors of Urban Myers and how terrible of a job he's doing with the team that he's coaching. But when it came to the football player for the Texans, I can't think of his name right now, Stephen A. Smith was one of the ones to quickly point out wherever there's smoke, there's fire, and was pushing for him to not come back until whatever situation is resolved. He was doing just a number of things. And then with the whole situation with the former coach of the Los Angeles Raiders, John Gruden, Stephen A. Smith, when the initial report came out about the emails that contained racial slurs, Stephen A. Smith defended him. His tone was different. He stated that he don't believe he should lose his job over it, but just the embarrassment of people questioning him, being that that's something that occurred in the past. His whole tone was completely different. I'm not going to play the clips. But then even today, his tone was still different. His tone was still different against John Gruden. His tone was still the same, pretty much. Well, I didn't know the whole situation. I didn't know it was more than one email. I didn't know it was multiple emails. Those are the things that he shared. But then when Kyrie Irving name came up, suddenly you heard more of a rebuke. The talking points that's being regurgitated, not just with Stephen A. Smith, but also with Kendrick Perkins, also with, some of the other sports, the athletes within, whether it's NBA or the NFL, or not the NFL, because I really haven't heard any NFL players chime in on that. But the media, primarily our own people. And we see how they are throwing him under the bus. Yet we haven't seen Stephen A. Smith, and none of them mention Kirk Cousins, who is currently unvaccinated. Made it clear early on that he wasn't going to wear the mask. And even as far back as this past August, still was unvaccinated, stated that it's none of everyone's business to know whether he took the vaccine or not. But he said he would adhere to the required testing, the the protocols that are in place. He's not vaccinated. But we don't hear any of the media talking about Kirk Cousins. He is a leader on the Minnesota Vikings football team. We don't hear none of these guys talking about him. But Kyrie Irvine, Stephen A. Smith has brought up, the first one to bring up, trade him. First one to bring up, get rid of him. First one to bring up what they need to do with him. Like he did with Kwame Brown. He was the first one to start trying to go there with Andrew Wiggins about his basketball skills when Andrew Wiggins, decided that he was not, initially wasn't going to take the vaccine. He was the first one to say, well, hey, this is the first number one pick that I've heard or known to be quiet, a very quiet number one pick. Who is this guy? We know from the very beginning, the numbers have been completely all over the place when it came to the data on this vaccine. I've shown and displayed the information that completely contradicts the narrative and the suggestion that the coronavirus is only passed on from an unvaccinated person to a vaccinated person, or that only the vaccinated, right, who has the those who have the vaccine is fully vaccinated and protected from from the catching the Delta virus or Delta strand of the corona. All kinds of things that we've seen circulate, debunking all of that with CDC information. But I want to share with you Kyrie Irving's plight. Kyrie Irving, who did not allow himself to be bullied. Andrew Wiggins was bullied and he decided to take the vaccine. He made it clear it wasn't his choice, but he was threatened of his livelihood. Kyrie Irving apparently has made more money, but still, regardless of how much money he's made, he's losing a lot of money. But I want to share with you what Kyrie Irving actually stated about taking the vaccine. I want you to see the reports on this, because he's being referred to as not being a team player. But what's bigger than the team? What's bigger than sports? The people. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the person I least expected to throw his fellow alumni, or should we say fraternity, those that's within his fraternity, because the NBA sports, they are a fraternity, to throw his own people up under the bus with the same regurgitated talking points of preventing the spread of the virus to our loved ones, the threat of them dying because of being unvaccinated, being perfectly healthy, run the risk of passing this virus to someone who is vaccinated. But now the regurgitating talking points is, well, the hospitals are flooding, overwhelmed with those that are primarily unvaccinated, which I share with you a report on a community in Massachusetts back in July of this year, where they developed the term breakthrough cases, where 80% of almost 500 people that were vaccinated, 80% of those that caught the virus, 80% of them were vaccinated. 80% of 500 people were vaccinated. Of the people that caught the vaccine, the virus, 80% of them were vaccinated. But yet we see the regurgitating talking points, the lies. Just a year ago, We have the commander in chief. We have Nancy Pelosi. We even have Dr. Fauci making it clear that issuing mandates are not the way to go. That is not even constitutional. I'm going to play it one more time before I play, or actually I share with you an article that's giving you the proper reason, giving you clarity on why Kyrie is taking a stance. Let me share this this video that's filled with contradictions. Let me show it real quick.
Sure, I wouldn't demand to be mandatory, but I would do everything in my power. Just like I don't think masks have to be made mandatory nationwide.
Can we mandate vaccines across the country? No, that's not a role that the federal government, I think, even has the power to make.
We cannot require someone to be vaccinated. That's just not what we can do. It is a matter of privacy to know who is or who isn't.
No, definitely not. You don't want to mandate and try and force anyone to take a vaccine. We've never done that. We don't want to be mandating from the federal government to the general population. It would be unenforceable and not appropriate.
See, Fauci's video, his comments was a little more than a year ago. Biden's comments was December of last year, not even a year ago. Nancy Pelosi's comments were April of this year. And look at how things shifted. Look at how quiet these guys are. Look at how silent these guys are now. I haven't heard anything from Nancy Pelosi. But let me share with you a couple of things here. And I'm going to share with you Kyrie Irvine's true reason for why he's hesitant about the vaccine, that he's not taking the shot as of now. Let's go to it. All right, this is coming from a news article titled Report, Kyrie Irvine's Vaccine Decision About Grander Fight Against Mandates. This is coming from Sports Illustrated. Let's see exactly why Kyrie Irvine is taking the stand that he's taken. And this is why our community should be supporting him. This is why we should not allow the playbook, right? The playbook from media is if you can't actually counter someone's argument, then you demonize the person. You demonize the person that's challenging your arguments. That's the playbook. That is the playbook. That is the playbook from the media. That's the playbook from many of these big companies. That is the playbook even when we deal with other communities. I'm not going to deal with it tonight. Other communities such as the Jewish community as we know them. But that's another discussion for another time. Here we have this article of how Kyrie Irvine is actually sharing his reasoning for why he's taking a stand. But see, he's been called all kinds of names, insinuating that he's crazy, that he's, listening to all kinds of conspiracy, going to all kinds of conspiracy websites as the Joyce Reid and Jamel Hill and a representative from the Rolling Stones magazine want to throw that type of foolish stuff out there. This is the article report. This is from Sports Illustrated. Kyrie Irvine's vaccine decision about grander fight against mandates. It says here, Kyrie Irvine stands to get vaccinated against COVID-19 has not changed as of Tuesday night. But per the Athletics, Shams Charania, it's not because he's anti-vax or anti-science. Let me make this clear. They said it's not because he's anti-vax or anti-science. Let me say this again, because the way that the media has been demonizing him, right? They've been making it clear that he's not educated. He's not up on the facts. He needs to do his research. They began to bounce around suggestions that he's uneducated about the situation, that he's anti-vax, that he's going to all these different websites, that he's promoting anti-vaxxers and all this other stuff. But Kyrie Irving never said that. They began to do the playbook when they want to tear down someone's character, because it does not fall in line with, as Kwame Brown points out, with the establishment. So Kyrie Irving, as we see here, he says his stance is not because he's anti-vax or anti-science.
What?
See, if he was anti-science, and I don't agree with the flat earthers, but that's those who believe in it, that's their prerogative. But at one time he believed he was a flat earther. The flat earth, that's what he supported. Right? Based upon the research he's done. But he changed his stance on it. But they want to use that as a way of trying to give that allow that kind of lead the way in this way of trying to picture him as being strange or being weird. Hey, Kyrie Irving could just retire at any time. We just don't know. He's unstable. That's the stuff that Stephen A. Smith has been pushing. That's why I respect the fact that LeBron James, he got a lot of flack off of it, saying, hey, Kyrie Irving, that's his decision. That's his choice. But see how the New Jersey Nets want to package it by trying to put pressure on him is by saying, hey, even though Kyrie Irving can play in practice in New Jersey, in New York, he can still practice. He was given okay to practice, but they made it clear that, basically, if he doesn't get the vaccine, they don't want him there part-time. They want him to basically take the vaccine and be with the team because it's all for the team. Take it for the team. They're saying that the team is more important. The team is more important than his people. The team is more important for those that don't have a voice. Now, let me read the rest of this so you could get see exactly his purpose for why he's taking a stand. It's not because he's anti-vax or anti-science. The Nets guard reportedly is upset about individuals losing their jobs because of vaccine mandates. Let me read it again. The Nets guard reportedly is upset about individuals losing their jobs because of vaccine mandates, writes Sharania. Excuse me if I'm mispronouncing her name, but Sharania writes, to him, this is about a grander fight than the one on the court. And Irving is challenging a perceived control of society and people's livelihood. According to sources with knowledge of Irving's mindset, Kyrie wants to be a voice for the voiceless, a source told The Athletic. See, what's unfortunate with this whole situation, the Stephen A. Smiths and all these guys, they begin to even go after his own family, suggesting that his relatives are planning these wild assumptions, these wild beliefs towards the vaccines, his approach, or why he's taking a stance. But actually, it's because he's taking a stance, not because he's an anti-vaxxer or anti-science, because he wants to be the voice for those who are voiceless, people who are losing their jobs because they are not taking the vaccine. Right now, Joe Biden said back in August, actually before then, July, that 70% of the country is vaccinated. So what's the problem? 70%. So it's higher. That number is, of course, higher now. So what's the problem? Right? But Kyrie, again, he never said that he's anti-vaccine. He never said he's an anti-vaxxer. He said in a nutshell that he is taking a stand for those who don't have a voice. And this is why the New Jersey Nets and some of these other athletes are trying to say, well, Kyrie is entitled to make his own decision, but we're going to move in this direction. That's why you hear, starting with Stephen A. Smith, help pushing this narrative. You know, absolutely, JD Israel. The real question to pose is why we are the center. Why are we at the center of attention when we don't want to vax up? When it's already proven that those that have had the virus, right? And guess what? It circulated all through our house before they even knew what it was. This virus has been floating around, been in this country since 2019. Since November 2019. And I can assure you, December 2019 to January of 2020, that virus went throughout our household. The doctors couldn't tell you what it was. They kept saying they believe it's some type of viral infection and that they were just that we just had to let it run its course. My wife, our daughters really had it pretty bad. And some of the friends, the doctors told them the same thing. But now suddenly, right, want to give this impression, give this belief, give this narrative that the unvaccinated are a danger to this country. The non-vaccinated is the reason why the economy is the way that it is. No, it's not. The problem is you have people that already left the workforce over a year ago. When more and more started believing and started seeing how they were going this route about vaccines, trying to encourage people to take the vaccine over a year ago, people started walking away from the workforce, even out of just mere fear of this virus. Family, we have to stop allowing ourselves to be hustled. Many are stocking up their homes and all kinds of stuff, hoarding food. Do you know there's not a food shortage? There's not a food shortage. Look it up. Do your homework. There's a fleet of merchant ships that stretches from Japan all the way to Los Angeles, of ships being backed up, not able to come to the port. Why? Because there's not enough workers there to be able to process the cargo. And to add insult to injury, there's not enough truckers because many of the truckers have quit. Many of the truckers, there's a shortage. There's not enough truckers. Do you know, I mentioned this over a year ago when they said that there was a shortage of chicken. And I stated, there's not a shortage of chicken. There's a shortage of workers. There's not a shortage, family. There's not a food shortage. The shortage is that there's not enough workers. Many have walked away from their jobs because of the mandate. Some already started walking away from it, just the fear of COVID, but many of them have walked away from their places of employment because of the mandate, taking a stand not to have to deal with the vaccine. So family, You see right on your screen, I just share with you Kyrie Irvine's reason for completely taking a stand. His stance has nothing to do with being an anti-vaxxer or anti-science, but everything, as you see here, he wants to be a voice for the voiceless. He wants to challenge and support those, challenge those that are trying to push this mandate to force people to get vaccinated, while at the same time be a voice for those who's taking a stand on what should be their own free liberties. Absolutely. It's not about control. I mean, it's about control. It's not about health. It's about control. And look at how all of our people that has positions of influence, look at what they're doing. Look at how the black church per se folded. Didn't give up, didn't give no kind of resistance. Began to bring this agenda into their assemblies, all the way up to their altar, to their pulpit. Family, again, there's not a shortage. There's no food shortage. There's no oil shortage, which the gas prices are going to go up again. There's no shortage. The issue is there is a shortage of people. Guess what? The Messiah made it clear that there was going to be a shortage of people. There was a shortage of people even during his time when he walked the earth. He made it clear that the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers is few. There's no shortage of food. There's shortage of people to process it. There's no shortage of equipment per se. There's no shortage of gas. There's a shortage of people to process it. There's no shortage of gadgets that you're going to see that's not going to be on the shelves. It's not a shortage of that. Why? Because they're sitting on those cargoes, just like going to driving on a congested highway and you go to a toll booth and the toll booth is backed up. And many of you guys, if you from like the New York, New Jersey area, you know what I'm talking about. Philadelphia, the Pennsylvania area, even the Baltimore area, you know what I'm talking about. That's what's happening with the ports. And it's not just with Los Angeles, as far as the coast out there, California. It's taking place in New York, New Jersey, Port Newark. So this is where the issue is. This is what the problem is. And I commend Kyrie Irvine, though I may never or ever talk to him. He may not even ever see this video. But I commend him for taking a stand, not allowing the pressure to get to him, not allowing what people are saying to him. So I commend him. I commend him. I commend him. I commend him. Regardless of what's being said about him, I commend him. I commend him. But we're supposed to trust. We're supposed to have trust in the pharmaceutical. Let me go to a quick article here. This article titled Daily Beast, How Pfizer Helped Make Spice the Deadly Fake Pot. The same people we have to trust for the so-called vaccine, the same people that help so many people be addicted to synthetic drugs. Let me take you to an article here. How Pfizer helped make spice the deadly fake pot. Now let's see what it says here. In 1979, 3 researchers at Pfizer, the pharmaceutical giant, came up with a synthetic cannabinoid, a drug that in some ways acts similarly to the active ingredient in marijuana. What the company did with this research, it won't say. But decades later, a designer drug marketed as fake pot began to emerge, first in Europe, later in America, that went on to be blamed for contributing to tens of thousands of trips to the emergency room. See, this is also referred to as the zombie drug. Many of you guys, I'm not sure if you remember when I think it was about 7 or 8 years ago, how a guy down in Florida was eating the face of someone. This person was high off of this, what they call zombie drug, or high off of this K2 or spice. During a season, one summer, it was so bad that people were dropping like flies in New York, dropping like flies in Newark, New Jersey, dropping like flies in Chicago, dropping like flies. They called this the zombie drug. So it goes on to say, one of the 5 active substances in that fake pot, also known as spice or K2, was the synthetic cannabinoid first discovered at Pfizer. So what tends to happen with a lot of these drugs that don't make it, they'll take these drugs and they'll actually take these drugs and they'll circulate it through the streets, circulated through, quote, the black market, so to speak. So as you see here, this synthetic cannabinoid was first discovered at where? Pfizer. But drug research often walks a fine line between medicine and recreation, making the history between drug abuse and big pharma closer than the latter would like to admit. Pfizer's connection to K2 would by no means be the first major drug to have roots in commercial enterprises. Heroin is considered by many to be a Bayer trademark. Let me say that again. Heroin is considered by many to be a Bayer trademark. LSD was invented by Sandoz. Merck developed by MDMA, but never used it in humans. But if Pfizer's role in this latest designer drug mess is known, it's only by a handful of people. Let me read that again. But if Pfizer's role in this latest designer drug mess is known, it is only by a handful of people. The DEA is surprised to hear of their involvement and says they cannot confirm it. All right. So should we be hesitant? Do we have reason to be hesitant? Absolutely, family. Absolutely. So now we're going to trust the same company, or should I say companies, to come up with a solution? This is real Israel. This is why I just want to take a moment out to just really talk about the situation with Kyrie Irvine. One of the very few people of influence from our community that's using his platform to take a stand, to be the voice to those that don't have a voice. to be a voice to those who, as he pointed out, have lost their jobs. Let me just play it one, I mean, not play it, but let me show the article one more time before we wrap up, just so those that just joined can see exactly what I'm referring to. And it says Kyrie Irvine's stance to get vaccinated against COVID-19 has not changed as of Tuesday night. But per the Athletics Shams Charania, it's not because he's anti-vax or anti-science. The Nets guard reportedly is upset about individuals losing their jobs because of vaccine mandates. Charania writes, to him, this is about a grander fight than the one on the court. And Irving is challenging a perceived control of society and people's livelihood, according to sources with knowledge of Irving's mindset. Kyrie wants to be the voice, or be a voice, not the voice, but be a voice. So he's making it clear when it says a voice versus the voice. When he says a voice, in other words, one of many voices for those who can't defend themselves, the voiceless. Isn't that biblical? Isn't that what we're supposed to do? Be a voice for the voiceless? Kyrie wants to be a voice for the voiceless, a source told The Athletic. So family, not going to hold you guys too long, but I just want to take time out to give you clarity on exactly what's going on here. I can share more articles. I'm not going to get into all of that. But I want you to see that this is a bigger issue than what many can ever imagine. This is a bigger issue, far more than what anyone can ever imagine. So if you want to help out, if you want to help out the situation, share this video. Talk about it. Talk about this, what's in this video. And in the description box, I'm going to drop some links that I've been covering, that I've been talking about. Share it. Share those links with the graphs that I've stated, the statistics that I've shared, the case in not Minnesota, but Massachusetts, about a community where 500 people caught the virus. And out of that 500, almost 80% of them were fully vaccinated. The unvaccinated were those that did not have taken any of the shots, as well as those that have taken just one of the shots. So a lot of these statistics that you see includes, when they talk about unvaccinated, it's also referring to those that have only taken one of the jabs. So this is why, again, statistics can be manipulated. So with that being said, family, I'm going to go ahead and take it down. But I just want to give you an opportunity to see, or bring you up to speed with the news of what's going on with Kyrie Irving. I'm going to upload a video actually after we finish here with this session. I'm going to re-upload a video that was taken down showing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar joining the media lynch mob. And I'm going to let you hear and see for yourself. Just even Kirk Cousins, the football player from the Minnesota Vikings, whom no one is talking about. There's others, but I'm highlighting him because he said the exact same things that some of the NBA players that wanted to take a stand tried to take a stand, but was bullied into changing their stance. So with that being said, family, like I always conclude every session, Moses said to the children of Israel, as they were dealing with a situation, it was dealing with what seemed to be insurmountable odds. They had their past, which is the Egyptians, pursuing them, wanting to catch up with them, to take their lives, to kill them, and ultimately take those that they did not kill back to Egypt. enslave them again. But then also they had what seemed to be their future, which seemed to be a dead end, water in front of them. So the people began to complain. The people began to talk. And so what Moses was told to say, was instructed to say to the people by the instructions of the Most High, he told the people, fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of Yahweh. Fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today, you will never have to deal with them again. These Egyptians that you see today will not have power over you ever again. These Egyptians that you see today, regardless of whatever mandates that they may come up with, and those that have purpose in their heart, like Daniel, not to defile themselves and stand on the things of the Most High, these Egyptians that you see today will not have influence, will not have power over you ever again. The Most High will fight for you, but you have to hold your peace. Can't go back, can't stay here. Keep moving forward. Shalom.